Jai Hind viewers, we welcome you back to another episode where we are discussing after 1 year of completion of MRO Digest forums. We are meeting with our eminent members to take their views on where the forum is. So today I am with Maj Gen Ranjit Ghosh. He served as Additional Director General of Corps of Electronics and Mechanical Engineers. He's a postgraduate gold medalist from IIT Madras in maintenance engineering. He was chief managing director of an army base workshop dealing with A vehicles. At strategic level, he steered life cycle engineering support for armies, capital acquisitions, and for revenue procurements. Jan Ghosh has authored books on global defense industries. Today in this talk, we are looking at the following outcomes. We are looking at getting General Ghosh's experience of the journey so far, and then we are going to be seeking his views on how the forum can contribute to the nation's efforts. And finally, we are looking at some suggestions from him of areas of focus and way ahead. So with that, General Ghosh, may I first request you to share with the viewers the experience of the journey so far in our forums. General Ghosh, please.
Thank you, sir. And Jai Hind to all our viewers. At the outset, I must thank you, sir, for having inducted me into this dynamic, knowledgeable, and professional group called MRO MRO Digest Forum. I vividly remember talking to you on the subject during the last year's core day, where you apprised me of the aim and objectives or the outcomes that this particular forum is required to perform or is expected to perform. And after the brief discussion, the next day, I think, that was 16th October 22, where I was put on board with the WhatsApp group of the MRO Digest community. So that is where my journey began in right earnest. Initially, I used to be looking at the daily chats, posts, and emanating discussions on various aspects of MRO that got put onto that particular WhatsApp group. And this continued for some time, and I was quite a dormant member of the group at that particular stage. Slowly, as I kept glancing through these, one day I found a link which had been sent by you, sir, of the MROdigestforum.com. Until now, while I was on the mobile, this was the time when I switched gears to the laptop and went through that particular website, only to find that it was an exceedingly very well designed and crafted website by Rahul and his team of that IT services company of his, that is handiwork.com. And I came to know what kind of a backend support is there with us in terms of his specialized knowledge of handling this particular website. As I opened onto the homepage, I found a host of latest posts from around the globe on very selected, crafted out, extricated out from a host of articles and put onto that particular site. And it gave us a lot of insight into the entire scope, the trends, and across various industries. And it was really insightful. And later only I came to know that this whole entire effort of doing such a crafty job of getting the right material onto the site has been handled by none other than you, none other than it was you who has done this. And I think each one of us in this MRO Digest community would like to thank you for the great insights that we are getting in this particular field. At the same time, I found that as far as land MRO is concerned, I did not find many sites, one or two, maybe one. And I think it is a pioneering work which has been done by you, sir, because it is first of its kind which has dealt with this subject of land, marine, and aerial systems MRO as a group. So that is something one of the first in this particular field, and I must compliment you, sir, and congratulate you, sir, for this particular field. Then, as I browsed through the uh, website, I found it had been very nicely categorized into typical of what it should be appropriately: maintenance, repair, overhaul, and upgrades, which is part of it only. And then you have certain digital technologies, electric vehicles, which were very contemporary and which are going to find its way into MRO in the days to come, as we are seeing it already. So, and we have had certain panel discussions on this as well. So that was a good categorization. And at the same time, as we kept going through, we found a whole host of articles written by our own members, and they themselves are very invaluable. So these articles came up, and uh, with this, on one fine day, I found that the Defense Expo was on, and there was an article on 3D metal printing, and that was from the Defense Expo. And thereafter, I think came the first webinar, which was on 3D printing by, I think it was Group Captain Ashok and maybe one or two panelists, or it was more of a web uh, where we had a good, fruitful insight into this disruptive technology as far as MRO is concerned. So with that, I found that it is there on YouTube, and I went into YouTube and found a host of videos, maybe about a dozen plus, it was 16, 17, I think, where a whole lot of topics had been touched upon and covered in this journey of MRO Digest. And they were very relevant, they were very contemporary, they were very close to our heart as one heard them. Then it was, I think, about 2.5 months back when I was on the uh, dinner table, in fact, that day, munching an early dinner, when I just switched on this panel discussion, and I was listening to it while eating by munching my dinner, when I got a pop-up message from you that would you like to offer your comments or any views on this subject? And promptly I replied in the affirmative, saying that, sir, I will be trying my best to contribute in whatever I can. And suddenly I was there without knowing that it is a video recording which is on. And I gave my comments and views on the subject. I think it was Make in India. Uh, uh, the comments went out very unknowingly, and as it would be, that was probably the first uh, panel discussion in which I got on. And it was, I may say, baptism by fire, but it broke the shackles of getting on to the more panel discussions. And I must acknowledge, sir, I'm very grateful to you for getting me onto these panels thereafter. And each of these panel discussions that we went through, at least where I participated, it has been a lot of learning, both in terms of surfing the net to know what is the trends, what are the avenues, what are the possibilities, how MRO is getting uh, incorporated in systems and IoTs, uh, and what is the future in terms of MRO is concerned. So it was a learning phase, it was a learning curve, and uh, it was only that after surfing and going through that I started applying what was my experience of MRO in that particular subject, and I could put a practical adaptation to this whole sequence of discussion and all these panels that we have had. So, sir, what I would sum it up as that I myself have evolved along with the growth of this particular MRO Digest forum, sir. And I'm sure we're only going to go further as we go by. That's it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, General Ghosh, for sharing that experience. And it's very nice to see the way things have evolved. We are grateful to you for having joined the forum. Actually, to be honest with you, I had sought you out because I had seen your work, earlier as a professional, and I was quite amazed with the amount of detail with which you have written those books. The viewers, I recommend that you have a look at those uh, books. We will share the links in the show notes below. You must read them. They are like a storehouse of knowledge. There's so much of information in those books which he has written. So I was aware of that, and of course we had served together, and we are from the same stream, a vehicle stream. And I know that you have been our Colonel Commandant in the Corps of EME, which is a very big thing. And actually, this platform was created, as I mentioned in earlier. The idea got into it again from EME. That is when General NB did his first seminar, where he did the MRO of land, marine, and air systems together while we were in service. And I was amazed that it was an excellent place where best practices were shared. People in service, people in corporate, of all systems. So this remained with me, that why is it that this is not happening? And then this platform came about because I didn't find any other, like you said. I said, let's make something. And Rahul and his team at handysolver.com came in, and helped us set it up. They can continue to support us, so we are very grateful to them. And so this started happening. But the platform got created, no doubt, for a need which was sort of, as they say, a felt need, as they say. But having said that, it was just a platform, making a platform, you can do it. It's like not, but the real strength started coming in with the members joining in, the quality of members. Like your coming in has been a absolutely great support, and the amount of very active participation which you have done in so many of our panel discussions, webinars. So, that's come in. And so I would say that we are a land system plus. And why I look at that, EME officers tend to be, I think, a good place to start with, because in EME we handled everything. Not so much in the marine systems, but yes, we do handle marine systems also, as you know, where we handle them. And we also, aviation, we was there. In fact, I was a young officer when aviation came into EME, and the initial, in fact, the first lot which went in was people whom we were with. So I was in MCME that time. So, we have been in aviation, and both of us have risen to general officer's rank. So we have seen that, overseen it also. And we have seen the best practices, from all sides. So I thought maybe EME comes in good. So land systems, marine systems, aviation systems, talking about them together. And in yesterday's conversation, previous conversation I had with Group Captain Ashok, he coined this word military MRO and civil MRO. So actually, civil MRO also comes in. And as it is emerging from our discussions, there's so many things happening where there are parallels, there are best practices, and so much we can gain from the various types of systems which are there. But coming specifically to your contribution, what strikes me, what really is that, actually with the type of level which you have reached already, your opinion, purely your opinion has a lot of value, I feel, because the experience which you carry. You're an author, you've been with our major institutions, which are think tanks. So that is enough, but you don't leave it at that. You go into the facts. I've seen even now when you are coming to a panel discussion, you come out with rich facts about everything, and then you deduce and analyze, and so that gives a lot of strength to further strength. So it's like a double barrel thing, and opinion from experience supported with factual mixes up, and it becomes a very potent suggestion. So you rightly said, so essentially now that we are veterans, we are citizens, and it's our role as citizens to, I feel, that to contribute to the nation which has given us so much, to our forces which have given us so much. And it's really getting expressed through the contribution of our members, for which I'm ever grateful. I'm very grateful to you for doing it, because otherwise it would have remained with you, and it wouldn't have gone out. And the best part is that this intermingling of a variety of sources of experience coming together, the amalgam which is emerging is pretty good. And if current decision makers get something to, maybe it helps them in some way. I'm sure it will, by just looking at it. And so I look forward to your contribution, as I said. So from that, what the question now I would request you to address is, in your view, how can the forum, as I mentioned, help and contribute to the nation's efforts? General Ghosh, please.
Thank you, sir, for all those great words. So you really motivate me to strive more harder as far as the panel is concerned, sir, and give it back to the society, as you said, and the nation per se. And it shall be my endeavor to uh, meet your expectations. So to start with, as far as the question that you have posed is that how we can contribute as a forum to the national cause. Uh, well, sir, the MRO Digest community, if we look at the group itself, it is about 80 plus uh, veteran MRO specialists that are there. And their MRO experience spans anywhere beyond 40 years, or maybe 50 years. Some people, like our patron, you all would have had much more. As you said, they belonged to a very diverse government organizations from which they are coming. They are from the DRDO, DPSUs, ordnance factories, the railways, the Ministry of Home Affairs, and also, of course, you have the services, both the Navy Air Force officers. So it's a real cross spectrum which is available, which makes discussions very fruitful and bridges the gaps between thoughts and processes and systems, which we have, though we have grown in this uh, defense ecosystem over the years, but yet there are certain compartments which get opened up in this particular forum with such a participation. And that is a big strength of this group, sir, as you also note. Consequently, sir, we find that we have the composition of this group ideally suited to meet the requirements of the Indian defense ecosystem, be it Indian or global connects that are concerned. We also look at the experience, qualifications, and the skill sets that they bring onto the floor of our discussions, which are extremely invaluable as far as the each one of us is concerned, as well as the viewers, what they are receiving out of it, hopefully. And then, of course, we have got the same veteran community which has joined corporates. There are people who have opened their MSMEs. There are people who are associated with think tanks. So they are, as it is, as a veteran, contributing to the society. But the common bonding is the MRO industry and the defense industry, where the MRO is the subset of this, if we may call it. So we have specialized MRO specialists who have got knowledge of emerging and disruptive technologies. They have got knowledge of renewable energy sources and their applications in the products. So the mix is class. And it doesn't end with, they are from different disciplines. They are mechanical, electrical, electronics, uh, telecommunication, all sorts of people are there, members are there. And then they are specialists on their own as far as tanks, guns, missiles, radars, ICT, ships, submarines, aircrafts, hepters, and as you said, the land system like MRO specialists like us have got a lot of insights into the other services systems also, and this forum brings in more refinement to that particular uh, canvas of thoughts and thinking, and intellectually is very stimulating, as well as the applications are known and cleared much more now. So what I look at is that this particular group per se has got the requisite knowledge to look at and contribute to our defense ecosystem in a huge manner. It also has learned the hits and misses of your sustainment engineering activities as well as sustenance management activities of all previous contracts that we have seen. We may call it as we have uh, felt the pains, the pain points are known to each one of us in different services, and each has got a different experience of a different contract, different equipment, different exploitations, and how they have impacted us as MRO specialist is concerned. So, with that as the backdrop, so we should look at how we can contribute or what should be our role as a group, as you called, and how we can contribute effectively to the national cause or the national effort that you're looking at. Well, sir, I think to start with the initial aims and outcomes which you had set has been met in the first year, which is you have been able to put across a number of articles written by the members, tap the global trends through the articles that you're extricating and putting. You have gone through initial webinars and then on to monologues, dialogues, panel discussions, which are on contemporary issues. So that part is already catered, but it doesn't end there. It has to continue. It has to continue for the second year and onward. Only that the applications will change with the evolution of technologies and products that the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Defense Forces per se are going to imbibe. So that is one part. Then comes the second, what I look at is that I think we as a group are an ideal resource which can provide the required advisory and consultancy inputs to the ministry as well as to all agencies of the defense ecosystem in terms of defense capital procurements, be it through global or indigenous systems. Now, these could be either the buy, make, or innovation routes where different stakeholders are concerned, or it could be even in the case of capital acquisitions which are coming from external global sources. We are a huge source. How it can be done, we can discuss later. Uh, Also, we should be looking at some kind of a hand-holding for the academia. We have our training institutions, all the services, as well as the ordnance factories and other members who are there. That kind of a curriculum, what is common and essential, can get included by these universities in terms of a main subject, main discipline. We are finding the whole landscape of academia is changing. There are industry-specific courses which are being crafted and as required globally is getting into it. So MRO per se globally can also become a subject which can be introduced into our universities for which as a major or as a elective, whatever form it can take. Then you come on to our hand holding of the startups, MSMEs, and the research institutes and organizations in terms of making them aware of what kind of a research avenues are available. Not basic research. Basic research is known to the DST and they're doing, but the applied research specific to uh, defense is what we should be looking at, where we can handhold these individual innovators, startups or MSMEs and these institutions for introducing or telling them the avenues of introducing your uh, disruptive technologies as particular to a equipment a person. So that is the next point. Thereafter, what we are finding, as I think many of the earlier members had brought out, that there is an inadequacy of the knowledge base, the capability base of either the private or the public sector. So maybe the best way forward, as we had come to a deduction, was a collaboration between these. In fact, it's a day of collaborations today, sir. You are looking at the US-India dialogues resulting in collaborative research, collaborative development, production. So since it's a collaboration, so the win-win is there because you are tapping the inherent strengths of each and giving a mutual strength with a multiplier effect. So this is how I think our public-private partnership will go. And we as a MRO forum and as MRO specialists know the strengths of each sides, and we can really get this marriage of convenience together and get the best out of these two in all the future projects which are going to come up. Also, what I feel is that this particular platform has to continue and raise the level of MRO seminars, webinars, both in the Indian context and in the global context, where we will have to create more and more awareness in the masses as far as MRO aspects are concerned. We have to continue educating them. And this is just one of the effort that we can put in this whole of nations approach that we are looking at, and towards the global defense manufacturing in India by both your domestic players as well as your outside players coming in. And if you have just read the article yesterday of, I think it was CEO of Goldman Sachs saying that the next 3 years are very critical for India. And he sees a lot of potential for growth and avenues which are going to open up in the days to come. And if that is to be believed, and that is the course in which we are moving, and I think we have a huge role as a MRO forum of specialists who can contribute to this cause of nation building and take us to this route of 5 trillion economy in the next 3 years or so. So that is what are my views on these aspects. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, General Ghosh. Actually, taking you on from that 5 trillion economy, you said, yes, we are well on its way. And coming back to the MRO aspect as such, we have been also in service as we grew, we found it was pretty complex, especially the variety of equipment, and it was not always easy. And somehow, like you use the word hits and misses, you somehow, you managed to do it. And it was always a challenge. And now it's getting, I think, further, I would not use the word complex. It's having a further potential is the word coming in with emerging maintenance technologies. So when you look at the legacy maintenance techniques which you use and you merge them with the emerging maintenance technologies, it is on the one hand, one may feel it's becoming complex, but actually it is throwing up a multitude of opportunities, which I think our forum, we have a pretty good mix of members with very strong knowledge in all these areas, legacy and emerging, can certainly advise. And so that is one aspect to it. And I feel that there is a need for many things to become agile now, especially in the MRO. You see, yesterday we were discussing when I was talking to the previous conversation with Group Captain Ashok. So, and General NB has always stressed on mission readiness, and mission readiness becomes leads to op readiness. So, when you using military MRO as Group Captain Ashok mentioned, their mission readiness giving op readiness. Unless you've got mission ready equipment, operationally you become pretty stymied. You can't do much about it. And the present war in Europe is really throwing up a lot of weaknesses and also showing strengths. So it's a place where one can study and prepare and be ready. And I think we can contribute towards that. And when you come to the civil MRO, they are in the cost effectiveness. Now, if you look at what Brigadier YBR Vijay in his talks has said, when he did the MRO, set up the MRO with 2 other EME officers of a major big wind energy company, they really were able to do a lot of work at very reasonable cost. So what Mr. Arun Krishna, former general manager of HAL, mentioned, that actually industries should look at this very closely, because 3/4 of the cost is the MRO. So our forum can certainly help in that also, no doubt. And I'm sure that, as you said, we will be able to do that. And what comes to mind is that everything, whether it's policy, it must become agile. Decision making must become agile. And even resource creation must become agile. Not only that, optimal. So optimal resource creation is also something in view of emergent technology, which I think we can maybe contribute to. So with all that, what you said just now, may I request you to tell us some specific focus areas and the way ahead? General Ghosh, please.
Thank you, sir. No doubt, sir, it is a very intricate, it's a very complex subject, and the way things are evolving, everything has to become more and more agile. I fully agree with you. Uh, as far as the way ahead is concerned, sir, while we just covered in the previous question the what kind of a contribution which we can have to the national cause. I was also looking at 1 year has gone by, the next year is coming as to what should be kind of focus, and the focus has to be which will deliver on ground. So while we can keep educating the masses, we as MRO specialists and professionals have got the insight into the system which was there, which will be there. And with that insight, I was thinking how best can we have a say as far as the MRO aspects are concerned in any future procurements, be it indigenous or global. While thinking so, I realized that most probably what is required is to take uh, the MRO as a strategic thought, if I may say so. What I mean to say is that I brought out hits and misses. Now, hits and misses earlier have been either due to resource constraints, inadequate budget allocations to a particular project. It could have been due to VMRO specialists not able to put across the point to the decision maker correctly. It could have been the foreign source uh, not giving us critical technologies and the whole process critical assemblies, and the indigenization levels or the indigenization content kept remaining low. Uh, it could be the global situations, it could be the global supply chains and whatever. These could be the reasons which is already identified. Now, with all such reasons in place, what is the way ahead? So what I felt is that there is a need to look deep into future. And how do we look at it? Uh, what I felt is that we should know what kind of systems are to come in the future, what kind of technologies are to come. So we have to be abreast as far as knowledge basis comes, is one. Second is with the Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative of the government, ease of doing business, pushing up industrial corridors, pushing up for defense manufacturing in India, getting for global contracts coming into India, setting up base. All that push is there. So most probably budget allocation as a resource will not be the constraint if you want self-reliance, self autonomy, and uh, whatever you call it in terms of defense equipment is concerned. So then what is that what we have to do? But I look at it, why a strategic thought is we look 10 years ahead. How do we look at it? We look at it, maybe one indicator is the integrated capability development plan promulgated by the IDS, which has looked into what kind of equipment are we looking at in the future. It is also coming out with a technology uh, perspective and capability roadmap in terms of what kind of technologies are to be developed, what kind of equipment is to come in, into which this particular TPCR is to is trying to speak. Also, it is giving you the lead time to your R&D organization, to your primes, to start developing a particular product and a technology which will be required by the forces. So that the orders are known. If that is the uh, core thought or the strategic thought available to you, then we have to look at the strategic MRO planning, which has to go into this. So the strategic MRO planning, which has to go into this, is going to be how to incorporate and get our say of MRO requirements so as to have long-term reduction in costs of the life cycle. So we have to contribute in the entire life cycle cost value chain as far as MRO specialists and MRO forum by getting into this. How do we do it? How do we get into this? Is that once we have identified these particular requirements, uh, in fact, I will take you to one of the case studies which comes to my mind today. I was very fortunate to have been closely associated with our patron General NB Singh in the design and development of the Arjun era. Now, how did we start off? We knew what is our requirement. We knew the constraints of budget. We knew the constraints of armored recovery vehicles available. Being a tank man, so you will appreciate what is the criticality of this equipment in an operational scenario, what is its capability in terms of recycling and other things. So with that in mind and the resource crunch, the thing came off to combine these two, repair vehicle and the recovery vehicle together and put it on one platform. To save the cost came up, let's have an existing platform. Arjun had already come in. There had been LSP, limited series production, followed by 124 plus. Whatever the numbers, they kept coming in, flowing in through the. So we said, let's have the same base which is available and now bring it to the requirements of armored repair. And how did we start with? We started with going on a global survey, literature survey, we call it, in identification of need and all that, not get into it. The literature survey was a global survey of all capabilities of armored recovery vehicles, armored repair vehicles, and what kind of system, subsystem configurations they had, what kind of weight, functionalities, technicalities they held. Based on that, we knew what is our requirement in terms of constraints of platforms, constraints of weights, constraints of space, room for crew, and other things. So based on that, we said, okay, this sort of a configuration will work. We sat through a whole lot of sittings where we brainstormed the spatial distribution of this entire design. And we were cutting, you know very well, sir, it is a system of systems, and each subsystem is critical and important to be accommodated within that, along with this crew. And now, with being a repair and recovery, you have to have the tools and all the engineering support package for carrying out in situ, on the move, uh, recycling of equipment. So from there, it came on to the freezing of the design. From that freezing of the design, all these why I'm saying is that we can incorporate, we can contribute as a MRO performance group at every stage of this, as an advisory, as a consultant, or as a white paper on any design and development, make category, or a by category I shall cover, which starts after some time because design and development is in-house. So thereafter, we got on to, once we had frozen the design, we went into a prototype development. The prototypes came out as per what we had configured. We learned our lessons, went through the development trials, validation trials, user trials, and came to know what kind of a final configuration it should come up with. Converted these GSQs into PSQs into GSQs, and thereafter it got uh, productionized, it got introduced. As it got introduced, we designed we saw the warranty support, we saw through the, it was not awkward in the right per se, but how to develop our scales of provisioning supply chain, that is, both for, in this case, of course, it was not a medium repair, or it was maybe overall at some kind of a engineering support plan, and the uh, future lifing of this particular equipment was worked out. And thereafter, but in the case of other equipment, we have the knowledge for the scaling of our spare, we have the knowledge for carrying out the medium repairs, or carrying out retrofitments and modifications, or going on to your uh, upgrades and upgrades in terms of technical or technological, as well as on to finally when you're phasing out this particular equipment. So with this whole knowledge known to us, how we can go about it. If there is a foreign procurement, suppose, so the lead times, what I'm trying to say, the bottom line is that the lead times are to be taken utilized fully by coming up with what should be your, if it's a foreign procurement, what kind of a pre-contract, during contract, post-contract requirements of MRO, where it has to get fitted in. And this can be done by what, if you have read the papers, sir, the Indo-US visit of our Prime Minister brought in the think tanks, writing a host of articles on both the sides and sort of making up the field as to what is to follow. So we should also, once we know the strategic thought of MRO planning through these processes, what I just brought out, we have to start flooding the media with all sorts of papers and articles which make sense and bring into effect all of the lessons learned of our past fault lines as far as MRO landscape is concerned. if that is bought in, someone will hear us because it will be timely. It will be before you have drawn up the con. Today we are in agreement stage as far as your Indo-US aspects which came out. From agreement to contract, there is the window, and this window has to be exploited. For that, we have to be very proactive. We have to be very uh, maybe on an overdrive to tap this particular window and put in all the hits and misses which we just discussed in terms of deliverables. Uh, how much will get delivered would depend on government to government negotiations, will depend on interoperability. You may be operating for UN missions, you may be operating in Asia. All those aspects are to be left to the decision makers. But we as a forum, you said, is this is how I look as the way forward is concerned, and how. So we have to address all the aspects associated with life cycle costs, be it at the first stage, which was design, development, and technology demonstration. It could be thereafter, once you have come in, the operating, that was the initial cost, acquisition cost, then the operating cost per se, where we go into the inventories and the facilities and infrastructure. Then you come on to sustenance cost and so on. So all aspects can be handled by us, but it has to be a preempting action, in short, which we have to undertake. So the scope is enough. I think we have dwelt on this in a big way. And next, of course, as we said, the main stakeholders in the indigenous defense production line, they require a lot of advisory, a lot of consultancy, a lot of handholding, which we can provide in a very huge way. So these are basically what I look at. And now how we do it, we may require some kind of a restructuring, which has been brought out by speakers earlier also. I look at three models which in which the restructuring can happen. It can be on the basis of service specific, land, marine, and uh, uh, aerial assets. And within those sub assets could be Make in India and what is coming across. It could be a second model which could be totally based on a specialization of equipment, which is as bought out tank, gun, aircraft, hepters, submarines, and ships, or whatever, or digital spectrum. Or it could also be on a third vertical, which is the specialization of major discipline, which could be mechanical, electrical, electronics, naval, aerial, disruptive, renewable energies, and so on. So these are the three models. The third model seems to be a more likely, as far as my perception. Others will have different brainstorming on this. We can come to the bottom line as to what is the best suited as far as the collective wisdom of this forum is concerned. And I think, sir, that is how I look at the way ahead and the models and the preferred model. And before I close, sir, I can only thank you for all these insights and discussions that you have generated today. Along with that, I wish the MRO Digest Forum all the very best for its second and subsequent years. And we just hope that we together scale greater heights in the days to come. So, thank you, sir.
Yeah, Jalko, it's been a singular pleasure listening to what you said. So you have painted quite vividly the colors of the scope, and given us a sight into the future, what possibly can happen. In fact, I'll share with you a story that when I was looking at this URL, you have to buy URL to start a website, right? We all know that. So I was wondering whether to make it MRO Digest Forum, as in singular, or whether to make it MRO Digest Forums, as in plural. So after a lot of debate in my mind, I went for the plural, and the reason I thought was because the subject is so vast that one forum can't handle it. So we are actually, in our name itself, ready for multiple forums. So, like we could have it discipline-wise, we could have it equipment-wise, in any number of forums can get created. And over there, I must thank you for your participation, because there's really given a lot of fillip to our effort. You have participated in so many panels and such intense and, I would say, very robust participation. I thank you for that. And I honestly, as I mentioned to you in our one-to-one conversation also once, I look at you as a leadership role, which you are now giving us that through what you're suggesting. And we will certainly work towards that. And I'm sure others of our members and those who are yet to become our members after listening to this can possibly, if they are looking at coming in as participants or as leaders in each one of the any one of these verticals or forum which we are talking about, they are most welcome, and they can get in touch with you, and you can. And so also we are looking at guidance. So as our participation grows, actually the platform is only the sum of for the members. So I would look at you as a person who can guide people and take them along, and with your rich experience and knowledge. And I'm sure people will come along, and I'm committed to providing this platform, which I will do. And any effort which I can put in, because it's such a important field which is knowledge is available, but I feel was not being addressed adequately. And what is most important here, but viewers, I hope they get this idea. It's such an important point that if you do not have you have not thought through such a complex thing as MRO of these systems, which looks simple, but it is very complex, then it's a cost penalty. And if you are looking at military systems, then there is a readiness penalty, which we can ill afford to pay. And so we would like to do everything possible to help whoever is presently having these difficult situations where they are having decision making on these areas, to help in any way we can. And of course, viewers, it's also for you to note, as General Ghosh also mentioned, that there are two parts of our setup. One is MRO Digest forums, from where we are putting this video, and there's another one which is under the leadership of Brigadier YVR Vijay, which is called MRO Digest. Which is called MRO Performance. And over there, it is actually there's a group of about 20 consultants who have signed up on that, and they will give you proper commercial paid consultancy. So that's another part which is started, and so you can. The link to that also is there in our show notes below. So viewers, with that, we come to an end of this particular interaction. I thank you for being with us. The links to whatever I've mentioned in the talk are there in the show notes below. If you like our content, kindly subscribe to it. And we look forward to having you back with us in the future also. And please circulate our videos to other MRO professionals. And if you are an MRO professional who's reading and who's listening to what we are saying, or reading the articles which we publish, and you feel you want to join MRO Digest forums as a member, please just send us a message on any of the links below, and we'll send you an invitation, and you can become a part of our MRO Digest community and contribute, or in any way, or at least you'll get the material right away, and we look forward to you joining us. And I must mention, MRO Digest forums is got free membership. There's no subscription. And with that, after once again thanking General Ghosh for this superb, vision which he has given us, I bring this particular interaction to close. Jai Hind.